welcome to all of you who've come here today to listen to my story series with Sanjay Dhawan. Our speaker is with us. I would like to make a little bit of introduction for those of you who are new to TIE. TIE Silicon Valley is a 501c6 nonprofit organization that has been in existence for now 29 years. We have a flagship conference called TICON, and most of you know us through that name. However, outside of that, throughout the year, we run a number of numerous events and programs that are directed towards fostering entrepreneurship, which is our mission. We have a couple of programs for, I would say, first time entrepreneurs or early stage entrepreneurs. And very soon we are launching a mini MBA program also that gets kickstarted on January 28th. So people who are interested in that, please do look at our website, sv.tie.org. And those who are interested in our flagship conference coming up on May 6th to 8th, you can also check the details on tycon.org. So those are certain details about Silicon Valley, and definitely my story is a great event that has been ongoing for a couple of years, very popular event, and you all have expressed a lot of interest and have shown how much you love this program. This program is chaired by Naveen Bish. Naveen is a serial entrepreneur who has founded and led numerous companies in the security and network infrastructure industries. Currently, he is co-founder and CEO of Akitra Inc., a cloud-based AI-enabled cybersecurity startup. Previously, he was the founder, or I should say co-founder and CEO of Strax, Secure Act, Nana Networks, and Ukiah Software acquired by Novell. He is the past chair programs and a board member of TIE Silicon Valley. He has been that in the past. He pursued PhD studies at University of California, Santa Barbara, and holds an MS from Texas Tech and BS MS degrees from Birla Institute of Technology and Science. He holds 3 patents in the security and networking area and has published several papers and articles on entrepreneurship and industry trends. In order to begin this event now, I would like to welcome Naveen, who would kickstart this event, and welcome Sanjay. Off to Naveen.
Thank you, Neha. Really appreciate it. Um, good evening, folks over here in US, and also there's good morning to some of the folks. I think there were a number of attendees I understood who were joining from India and other parts of the world. So some of the items for the today's event. This is our first My Story virtual event of this year, and the way the whole program will work is after I introduce Sanjay. So Sanjay is going to share his story for about 20-30 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A session for 20 to 30 minutes. So please send your type your questions, what you want to ask him on the Q&A part, and then we'll try to address as many as questions we can take within the time period. And the program will end at 7 o'clock. So with that, we'll get going. So one of the things the way I like to put it in positive terms as an entrepreneur is that we have been experiencing this adventurous time since last year. So even despite that, there's a lot of innovation going in the whole entrepreneurial ecosystem almost in every industry. I'm sure most of the folks who are attending, they are well versed in that. So one of the area is in the automotive industry. And today we have an amazing speaker today with us, Sanjay Dhawan, who is the CEO of Cerence, and he's leading Cerence into the next wave of voice and AI-based automotive applications. And I will obviously leave it for him to explain. And Sanjay brings extensive experience in the auto industry and has a deep understanding of AI and machine learning applications with a particular focus on developing solutions at the intersection of devices, sensors, cloud solutions, and data integration. And prior to this, Sanjay was the president of Connected Services Division and Chief Technology Officer at Harman Industries International. until 2019. And prior to that, he was president and CEO of Symphony Teleca Corporation since 2010. And earlier he was also involved in starting few startups, which he'll share about. So he holds a MS in electrical engineering from Brunel University in England and BS in electronics and communication from Regional Engineering College, Kurukshetra in India. So without taking too much of time, I would like to now hand it over to Sanjay to share his colorful, amazing entrepreneurial and professional journey with us. Thank you, Sanjay. Please.
Good morning, good evening, everyone. Hello and warm welcome from my side as well. Naveen, thank you very much for hosting me. You called me a few months back, and that's when we planned this. You introduced me to this, great series that you chair, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here talking to all of you today. Firstly, I wish all of you and your families the very best. We're all going through a very challenging, health crisis. That's has overpowered our lives for the last almost 1 year now, and I wish all of you the very best. When it comes to handling these challenges that we all are experiencing right now, and I hope you and your families are all doing well. When Naveen asked me to come on here and talk to all of you, obviously I'm very familiar with TIE. I have seen TIE as a entrepreneur forum, basically getting started almost 29 years ago. In fact, I remember the very first meeting that took place, here in Silicon Valley, and it's an amazing organization, and my congratulations to the TIE chapter, Silicon Valley chapter, and the whole organization worldwide to basically bring it this far. It's an amazing resource that's available to all the entrepreneurs around the world, who are thinking of doing something different from a startup standpoint. So my congratulations to the whole chapter here, to the whole TIE family. What I plan to do is, for the next 20-30 minutes, talk to all of you about my journey, my personal journey, and share with you my experiences, my learnings, and so on and so forth. Each of us, have a unique set of circumstances, unique set of experiences, and it's always a pleasure to basically share it with each other and learn. And so in my case, what I'm going to do is, use a few slides as well to structure my thoughts and share my journey with all of you. So I'll start sharing the screen. Hopefully, some of you who are on the Zoom platform should be able to see my screen as well. And then we'll conclude by a Q&A session that will answer any questions that any of you may have, basically, and I'll try my best to answer those to all of you. So I was born in Delhi, India. My parents and grandparents immigrated from Pakistan to when there was separation between India and Pakistan that took place in 1947, and they basically were refugees in Delhi, and were settled in Delhi, and that's where I was born in 1963, almost 56 years back now. And my early childhood basically involved me and my family moving all over India. My dad retired as the CFO of ONGC. Some of you who may know, Indian companies would recognize that name. ONGC is Oil and Natural Gas Commission, which is the largest oil company in India. And my dad used to work for that company. That was the first company that he joined, and that's the company that he retired with. The typical, Indian, professional life, which basically kind of, you join a company and you stay for life with that company, and in a very loyal way. That's what he did. But as part of his job, he would move around inside the country. So I was very fortunate that I, got to experience all of India. Starting from Delhi to Dehradun, which is a town in northeast of India, to Jodhpur, which is known for a lot of oil exploration, for where a lot of oil is explored in India. It's a desert area, as some of you may know. From there, we moved as a family to Gujarat, to Ahmedabad. From there, after a few years, we moved to Assam, to Shivsagar, Assam. And from there, we moved back to Dehradun. But by that time, I was going to my college, and I went to what is NIIT Kurukshetra now. At that time, it was called REC Kurukshetra. And so I was very fortunate to kind of, experience, more than, one place in India. And I lived and interacted with, various different cultures. And as many of you know, that's, very unique experience, since, India has a lot to offer when it comes to, the cultural diversity that we have in the country. When I came to my college, this is 1980 now, I joined to be mechanical engineer. But very quickly in the first 1 or 2 years, I kind of, realized that, my interests are very much into, electrical, electronics, computer science. Computer science was just getting started in a big way at that time in India. And, I did my best in the college to kind of, switch over from mechanical engineering to what is called electronics and communications engineering degree, which is sort of like computer science and electrical engineering combined degree. Basically, at that time, that's what the degree was called. And so, I specialized. I got my bachelor's of engineering in electronics and communications from, NIIT Kurukshetra. I didn't realize those would be the best years of my life. As many of you know, the college life is just absolutely beautiful, and I still cherish, and some of my best friends, even our best family friends here, in US, are the ones that I made in my college in India. Once I completed that degree, I joined HCL for a very brief few months. HCL, Hindustan Computers Limited, was creating a new product at that time called BusyBee PC. This was, the personal computers were just getting started. Intel architecture was getting kind of, absorbed as the core architecture for personal computers. We're talking when it was 386, 486 time, basically, and Hindustan Computers Limited, HCL, was the company that was basically creating their own brand of personal computers for India, for Indian market. And I joined the R&D team for that company for a few months. But I, very quickly realized that, I need to kind of, continue my education and do that abroad. So I applied to a number of colleges in Canada, in US, and in UK to see if, I can get admission in one of those universities and basically do my master's degree from one of the universities. I was pretty fortunate to get admission in all three countries, in UK, in Canada and in US. And I chose to go to Brunel University in London. This was my first mistake. I call it a mistake because, I realized once I reached UK that the real kind of, technology innovations was happening in US, and I should have really gone to US for my studies abroad. And remember, this is, we're talking 1985. Today, the situation is very different because, there is a lot of great work that is happening in many, many different countries, including India and Europe and other countries and so on. But I'm talking 1985, which is almost, 35 years ago. And at that time, the hub of innovation was very concentrated in East and West Coast of US. And, I should have really, gone to US, but I chose to be more closer to home, more closer to India. And I went to Brunel University. Brunel, by the way, was a great experience as well. Great university. It's a university in West London, where I did, my degree in what is called MS, Masters of Engineering in Digital Systems. Sort of a degree, once again, a blend between computer science and computer engineering. Was great learning, no regrets from that standpoint, but I was a little bit distant from where all the action was, which was US. My master's thesis was in networking. At that time, personal computers were just taking off. There were no computer networks. The computers couldn't talk to each other. And I did a master's thesis in networking to basically make these computers talk to each other. And immediately after completing my master's degree, I was employed by a British company to a British networking company called the Networking Center. Interesting name, the Networking Center. Obviously, they did networking, which is what I specialized in as well, and that's kind of what started my professional life in 1987. So it's been about the 33 years that I've been in working in the professional industry now, and after working in UK for a couple of years, in 1989. I met and married my wife, Anjali. I'm married to her right now after 31 plus years. And if you ask me, when I look back at my life, the best achievement for me, personal achievement, has been finding my dear wife Anjali and my two kids that I have right now, Samay and Anisha. 25 and 21 respectively, who are absolutely the best thing that has happened to me personally. But coming back to professional side, in 1989, as I told you all, that I was basically feeling that all the technology innovations are happening in US. And I was, definitely it was on my agenda to see if I can really relocate from UK to US, which is not that easy, especially in those early days. Having said that, I was quite fortunate that British Standards Institute, BSI, basically chose me to, be the BSI representative into IEEE, to standardize a lot of these networking protocols. Remember, I said earlier that there was no computer communication, there was no internet, there was no computer-to-computer communication standards at that time. And there were different standards groups which were trying to create standards so that computers can talk to each other. And that was what my focus was as well from a master's thesis standpoint. So BSI asked me to kind of be the representative of UK to basically go and standardize some of these protocols in IEEE. There is a body in IEEE called IEEE 802, which basically standardizes all the local area network protocols like Ethernet, like Wi-Fi, and others. And I started participating in standardization in a very, very early stage since 1987. So through that, a Silicon Valley-based company called AMD, Silicon Company, Advanced Micro Devices, basically recruited me through those standards institutes. I remember there was a meeting happening in New Orleans. For those of you who have been to New Orleans, Bourbon Street, in one of the evenings, we were sitting in a bar, in a jazz bar, a jazz club, and somebody from AMD basically asked me if I would be interested in joining AMD and moving to Silicon Valley. I showed my interest, and I remember going back to UK where Anjali was, and I remember having a conversation with her, and I said to her, I asked her a question. I said, Anjali, if you want to be an actor, what do you do? She says, look, if you want to be an actor, you either go to Hollywood or Bollywood, right? So you go to Hollywood, LA, or you want to go to Bollywood. If you want to be an actor in Bollywood, you go to Mumbai. I mean, that's what you do if you want to be an actor. I said, look, in my business, my Hollywood is Silicon Valley, and I'm getting an opportunity with AMD to move to Silicon Valley. Would you support me? And she said yes, and we packed our bags and we moved to Silicon Valley, the two of us, in 1989, in August of 1989. Couple of months after our move, we have just moved from our corporate apartment into our own apartment in Silicon Valley in San Jose, California. And one evening around 5 p.m., there was just amazing shaking of earth that took place. It was a crazy experience, and this was the October 1989 big earthquake that came to Silicon Valley. I had heard that there are earthquakes in Silicon Valley. I had heard also that these earthquakes come every few months. The earth shakes a lot in Valley. I'd never experienced one until I experienced and me and Anjali experienced this first earthquake of ours in October of 1989. I remember sitting down that evening saying, oh my God, if this is what happens every few months, did we make the right choice to move to Silicon Valley? But nevertheless, we never looked back and kind of, continued our journey in the Valley. The thing that was, very interesting for me as I came to Silicon Valley was that, I saw the entrepreneurial spirit, the spirit of innovation, the spirit of kind of, creating something new, and so on, that existed like no other place than the Valley at that time. Today, I think entrepreneurship is happening in many parts of the world, but at that time, there were really two main centers where there was a lot of innovation happening. One was the San Francisco Bay Area, and the second one was Boston. These were the two main hubs, Boston, Massachusetts, and San Francisco Bay Area. Obviously, since then, over the last 30 years, there are many hubs of innovations around the world, not just US, but all over the world, Europe, India, Asia, China, etc. But I'm talking about 30 years back, those were the two main hubs. And I was very fortunate that I ended up in one of the hubs at AMD. There, in the early days, a lot of innovation was happening in the silicon companies. Intel, Fairchild, National Semiconductor, Advanced Micro Devices, etc. Were basically innovating and creating these silicon platforms for personal computers and connectivity of personal computers. And I was, extremely fortunate to be, again, part of the ecosystem where, I saw, many kind of, new companies start, like Cisco and others, which were basically starting. And, that basically kind of, gave me my own inspiration as well, to become an entrepreneur. I also realized, around that time that, I think if I want to control my personal destiny, both professional and economical destiny, the best way to basically do that is through entrepreneurship. Obviously, that comes with a lot of risk, I was willing to do that. And in 1996, I left my job at AMD after working there for about 7 years or so, and to start my first company. It was a gut-wrenching experience. I was director at AMD. I was drawing good salary. I just had my son, who was 2 years old. We were, we had bought a home. There was a mortgage on the home. We didn't had, huge reserve funds to go through the ups and downs, of not receiving a paycheck and all that stuff. And it was, a gut-wrenching experience. But with the support of my wife, I decided that this is something that I definitely want to do. And, I took the plunge and, quit my job at AMD to co-found my first company called StarNet Technologies. This is 1996. This is the time when internet was just getting started. Netscape has just gone IPO. Computer communication was, very, very hot. A lot of networking companies were starting because all the computers were getting connected with each other, and things were, actually booming. The whole technology space was seeing a major boom, and I wanted to basically participate in that. Probably that was as gut-wrenching as that decision was, it was probably the best decision as I look back of my life. It definitely came with its, a lot of anxiety. But, I always say this, that, in an entrepreneur journey, you don't know the outcome, because nobody can guarantee the outcome, but the journey is absolutely amazing because you learn so much. It's an experience that, as you look back, you're very proud of. StarNet was a networking company creating networking equipment. After only about 3 years, we received an offer to be acquired in September of 1999 by another company called Netopia. Netopia used to be a publicly listed company. It was a public company, which became Motorola Home Division later on, basically. And StarNet was acquired. We invented the whole concept of voice and data coexisting on the same copper line using technology called ADSL. So those of you who are in the networking space, would know the DSL technology and the technology using ATM AL2 signaling allowed data and a voice to coexist on the same twisted pair, basically, and that's and we basically built the software algorithms to do that. That was the first exit that I experienced. The first time that I built a small company with which had taken a few $1 million was a nice exit for everybody involved. From economic standpoint as well, both for the shareholders, the investors in the company, and the management team, etc. Since then, I have basically led, 5 different companies now over the last, 24 years or so. So since 1996 to 2020, 2021, almost 24, 25 years, I've basically built, I'm right now building my 5th company, which is Cerence. Once I sold StarNet to Notopia after about 6-9 months, completing kind of the transition of the company to Notopia, I founded my 2nd company. It was a company called Incra Networks. This company was founded in July of 2000. The first funding happened in October of 2000. Now, this is when the big bubble had already has already happened in US. Some of you may know that there was a big market correction that took place in March of 2000, almost 21 years ago. And that correction meant that a lot of venture capital money and other money was becoming more and more difficult. But even in those difficult environments, Incra Networks, which was my 2nd company that I founded, was received a lot of attention. There were 2 founders of Incra, myself and Dave Roberts. The 2 of us, I was president and CEO. Dave was head of product management. And the 2 of us basically had a PowerPoint and an Excel spreadsheet. PowerPoint, which basically articulated our product and our proposition that we plan to build, and the attached business plan, and the financial plan, which was in the Excel spreadsheet. So there was a PowerPoint and Excel spreadsheet. We had no office, we had nothing, and we were valued at almost $70 million post money, as we raised $36.5 million Series A round in October of 2020. This was Incra Networks. Incra basically solved a very unique problem. Data centers were becoming very important because everybody was interested in hosting their applications on the web, and as a result, you would need basically this data center infrastructure to basically host your applications. And we wanted to optimize and create new architectures for data centers. So we co-invented, along with VMware and 3-part data center virtualization. So the whole concept of data center virtualization was started by Incra. Was one of the 2-3 companies that initiated this in 2000, year 2000, almost 21 years ago. Today, everybody kind of assumes virtualization as a given, but going back 20 years, virtualization was not a given technology, and something that we co-created and built a company around it. Incra was my 2nd company. This was the only company that was not financially successful. Having said that, if you ask me, which of the 5 companies that I have led so far that I'm most proud of from a technology standpoint, it is Incra. I'm most proud of Incra for the work that we did at Incra. The big learning there basically was we were 5 years too early, and we didn't have the staying power to sustain, and also US venture capital was going through a lot of correction. As I told you, the market crash had already happened, and we just could not sustain the company. We had raised a lot of money. First round was $36.5 million. Second round in 2002 was $31 million. So we did raise a lot of money. And, we built our own ASICs. We built our own very complex hardware. It was a big rack, 14, blade chassis, 18 RU high product, and so on and so forth. We were the first company at Incra who basically put a hypervisor. For those of you who are engineers on this call, I'm assuming many of you are. You would know what a hypervisor is for virtualization, and we were the first company to put this hypervisor in an ASIC, and we built our own ASIC, hypervisor ASIC, and all that stuff. So very, very proud of the work that myself and the whole Incra team did in building those products and technology. And I think still there is a class in Stanford that they teach about Incra because of the work and the great contributions that Incra made. But unfortunately for shareholders and also for management and employees, it was not a commercially successful company, unfortunately. Incra wrapped up in 2005 timeframe, end of 2005, where we sold our product, divided the product and assets into two groups, and Nortel and Cisco bought them, and and that was basically how Incra finished. And at that point, I had already founded two companies, which I was co-founder and founding CEO, and I wanted to do something different, because I spent 10 years founding two companies. And I said, I still wanted to basically lead a company, but in a different model. And so I gravitated towards private equity model. I said, I'm going to, instead of, being attached to venture capital model, which is very early stage investment, I'm going to kind of, try a different model, which is still building a private company, but with private equity, companies with a certain scale, and basically taking them to its next level. So at that point, there was a company that was getting formed called Cerence. There is a big private equity firm called KKR, and KKR was doing $1 billion spin out of a company called Cerence. And I was brought in as its president I was the only new management team member that was brought in to basically lead that company into its next phase. And so over the next few years, between 2006 to 2010, and then from 2010 to 2015, I led two private equity-owned companies. The last one was a company called Symphony Teleca, which was acquired by Harman. Symphony Teleca was a company in the automotive space, and that's how I got into automotive, starting about 2010. So for the last 10 years or so, kind of, I've been, spending my time in the automotive space. Symphony Teleca was acquired by Harman. Harman used to be a publicly listed company in 2015. It was one of the largest Harman's acquisition, about $1 billion or so. And then Harman was acquired by Samsung for about $9 billion in 2017. I played a role, important role there as well. Followed by in 2019, October, the only other thing that I had not done, basically, if you look at my journey, 3 out of my 4 companies were acquired by public companies, but I had never ran a public company, and I wanted to basically go and ring the bell. And so, this opportunity of building an AI, a conversational AI, interaction AI company focused in auto, called Cerence, came up, where, they wanted me as their CEO of a brand new company, which was a public company to public company spin that was taking place in October 2019. And I was brought in as a CEO to basically kind of, create Cerence. So again, very, very fortunate to be leading Cerence now for the last, 1.5 years or so. It's very fortunate to be able to give Cerence its name, its logo, build my own management team, but do that all in a public company scenario. I never rang a bell, to list the company. So here we go. This was a proud picture where we basically kind of, listed the company and rang the bell when the company went public on October 1st, 2019. And over the last 18 months or so, the company has made a lot of progress. I'm very, very proud of the work that this company does. We're, as I said, in the AI space, AI for the driver, for the cabin, assisting the driver, assisting the passengers in kind of, bringing this whole notion of, conversational AI inside the car. So that's what we do. Just very quickly about Cerence, we're about 350 million cars on the road with our technology. 1 in 2 new cars ships with our software. About 2,000 employees worldwide, about 20 plus offices around the world, et cetera, et cetera. And we focus on basically it's a software AI platform for assisting the driver, for bringing AI through vision and voice in the cabin, and also for safety and security reason for the road to assist the driver. So that's the journey so far. I think my last thing I'll say before we start the Q&A session here with Naveen is that the entrepreneurship is absolutely very exciting. I say this to my kids as well, that the best decision that I took was in 1996 to start my first company, and never really look back post that in terms of its journey. The reason why it's so exciting basically is because you get the satisfaction. Most of us are engineers. I'm an engineer, and the satisfaction you get of creating something new, which is unique, which has new innovation, new technologies built into it, and also the thrill of kind of taking it to market and then basically building a company and looking back and feeling proud about those achievements. That feeling is just absolutely amazing. Yes, the financial rewards may or may not happen. And as I told you all, that the company that I'm most proud of is Incra, which was not financially successful. But that's part of the journey. But the journey does come with a bunch of bumps on the road. So you have to kind of tighten your seatbelt and be prepared to kind of go through those bumps. But I've not met any entrepreneur who's not enjoyed the entrepreneurship journey. So if any of you are thinking about that, I would strongly recommend that you join the group, kind of do your planning, do your thinking, and above all, make sure that you think through your product and innovation plan, and also your go-to-market plan, because many times we have good ideas, but we don't have clarity about what's going to be our go-to-market, how are we going to sell it, will we be able to build the right sales force to kind of compete and sell, and so on and so forth, and those things are equally important. So think through the whole plan, and then be prepared to make the adjustments as you as you go and execute that. So with that, I'll stop right there and take some questions that some of you may have. Thank you so much again for listening, and back to you, Navi.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay, for sharing your amazing story. So, in fact, even your this current company from last year, I was just looking at the stock price because that's the measure, according to our past president. Anyway, I won't go into that side. So, it's really congratulations to you and your team taking the company. It's almost like I was looking at 52-week low was $11, and today high was 129, and 120 close, so $4.5 billion in enterprise value as of today. I mean, really, really big. Kudos to you and the team. So now, just I'll start with the first question, then I'm going to look at the questions which are here. So as you look back in your, let's say, childhood days, so growing up, as you're telling different parts of the India, um, so was there anything that inspired you, if you look back, that you wanted to become an entrepreneur, and of course, which led you to running now these amazing enterprises?
So, there were two factors that drove me towards entrepreneurship. The first one was um, uh, inspiration that I got from number of colleagues in Silicon Valley who used to work for me, and they kind of took the plunge before me and did it in a very successful fashion. Um, and I took my inspirations from them. You may know one of them. His name is Amit Shah.
Right.
He's a venture capital now.
Harman
Of
Ventures.
Artiman Ventures. And Amit and I, and there was another guy that I had hired from college called Devang Shah.
Right.
And we were all colleagues. Kind of, we shared our cubes together and lunches together. And I saw these two gentlemen kind of take the plunge and build a very successful company. And I took my inspiration from them that if they can do it, why can't I do it, right? So that was it was like they say. It can be very entrepreneurship can be very contagious. And especially if you're sitting right next to each other and you read the stories. At that time there was no internet, so the stories were, I mean, today with the internet, you can read about Elon Musk and Tesla all day long, right? And you can get your inspiration from that. But at that time, the inspiration was kind of based on whom and who and what they're doing and all that stuff. And second reason for my second inspiration, Naveen, was from when I was in UK, I went through some very major financial hardship. Like I told you, that was a mistake going to UK, and I personally went through 2 years of major financial hardship. Being very open here with everyone, just to answer the questions honestly, and I had said to myself that I want to get to financial independence. And there was no other way to get to financial independence unless I take the plunge from an entrepreneurship standpoint. So these were the two main factors that I had in my life to basically kind of take the plunge into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay. In fact, I remember Amit Shah. He was the founder of JITNet, and in fact, he advised me also in my first company, UKI Software, which was a firewall company. So
That
yeah,
is
I remember
absolutely
that
right.
very well. I
He
still can.
started Zeitnet, and Zeitnet was, if you look at the founding team of Zeitnet, they were all
From
engineers
AMD.
who used to work for me. The whole
Oh,
Zeitnet
wow,
founding
I
team
didn't know
used to
that. Yeah.
work for me.
Oh, that's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah. I still remember his office. I can see it in my mind. Anyway, so that is amazing. So, going to the question from the audience, which is kind of almost sequel to what you're answering, a gentleman called Sachin, he's asking, what aspect helped you to reach at this height to lead the technology company's technology background, knowledge, or leadership skills?
I think it's you need all of it. Ultimately, you have to be very passionate about the cause. Anything that I do, I've always tried to, I do it with, 200% passion. I put my full energy behind it, whatever I do. And, I would, and for that, especially as a startup, you would need not just a great, idea and innovative idea and technology innovation, but you also have to have kind of, leadership skills to convince others that, what you are thinking is right, whether it's investors or your employees, you have to, have those leadership skills as well, right? So I think it has to be, both these skills. But ultimately, if you are, by the way, passionate about something, these things will automatically happen, right? Because people will be able to see your thought process and your passion, and you'll be able to lead, whether it's investors or employees, into the journey with you.
Thank you. So next question, I know Sachin has a few more, but I'll come back to you, Sachin, again, if you have time. There are other folks I would like to address. Next one is from Abhishek Narang, who said, by the way, he's been following you and Cerence since end of 2019 after Nuance spin-off. So what's your long-term vision for Cerence? Whatever you can say, obviously it's a publicly listed company. So whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah. So, the automotive space is going through a major disruption. It's a huge industry, multi-trillions of dollars are spent, and it's going through a major disruption. And the disruption is driven by 4 major trends. By the way, I would recommend that any of you who want to do anything from an entrepreneurship standpoint, look for a disruption, because when a disruption happens, you can basically kind of innovate and create kind of, new products, new propositions, that customers will accept from you. In a car, the disruption that is happening is that car is getting connected, number 1. Second is car is getting electric, number 2. Third is car is getting autonomous. And the fourth is car is getting shared, like Uber, Lyft, etc. So there are 4 major, key disruptions which are taking place in automotive. Car is getting connected, car is getting electric, car is getting autonomous, and car is getting shared. And basically with these 4 disruptions, the way the car, the digital architecture of the vehicle is being built is changing. The big change is that previously, when automakers will build a car, they will build a car for 10 years, for a life of 10 years, and that's it. They would not expect any changes to it, just keep, oil, some service, change tires, and keep driving, right? That is absolutely not the case anymore, because today, if you look at your phone, you add new apps, you add new capabilities, you add new features, through the ownership. Every week you change the way you use your phone, right? So why can't I do the same thing in the car as well? Why do I have to basically accept a fixed functions for the car? So what is going to happen is the whole kind of the digital experience, the digital architecture of the car is going to evolve in a very big way. The company that has already proven that is very possible is Tesla. We all see the success of Tesla. Elon Musk has become, I think, the number 1, richest person on planet, with Tesla and all that stuff. And kudos to him for kind of, basically kind of, implementing the new architecture for a car, where new functionalities can be updated in a car over the air, and new functions, and so on and so forth. And you will see this in all cars, okay? From Cerence standpoint, we want to be the AI company for the car. And as I showed in my last slide, we want to be the company that basically sits, provide, conversational and vision AI for assisting the driver, for assisting the people in the cabin, and also from a safety and security standpoint, from a road AI standpoint. So we're the AI platform that powers, 1 and 2 new cars in the world right now, and that is the strategy that we want to basically further evolve, because with these disruptions, there will be kind of many new opportunities that will be coming our way.
Thank you, Sanjay. So next question is from Ramu Sankara, one of our fellow Thai charter member and an entrepreneur. So he's congratulations to you on Cerence. And so the question is, you have the phone vendors, Apple and Google, trying to get into cars. So how do you plan to keep them away and grow Cerence?
We welcome them in the car, because see, conversational AI is going to be in all aspects of our life. You hear about Alexa and Google and Siri. Siri, by the way, is a platform that's licensed from us. Apple licensed it from us, so Siri is our platform. Many years ago, they licensed. So there will be smart speakers with AI. There will be AI in your TV, in your remote, on your phone, in the car. So there will be every aspect of our lives, will have conversational AI. The big tech players like Apple, Google, Amazon, and others, are very focused on horizontal AI, which is basically kind of using AI to help you in your daily life. What we are very focused on is safety, security, and convenience from a vertical standpoint, auto vertical standpoint. So the use cases, would be things like, we are tightly integrated with all the sensors, 200 sensors in the car. So when a fuel light comes on, we can proactively tell the user, hey, you're low on fuel. Do you want me to, add a fuel stop in your journey? So you don't have to go and kind of, start an app, find a, gas station, go there, all that stuff. It's a disjointed experience. We try to create an integrated experience. Similarly, let's say you want to go from San Francisco to Palo Alto, you can do that on your phone maps, obviously, but because we are integrated with all the seat sensors in the car, we know how many occupants are sitting inside the car. So if there are more than 2 occupants, we can basically, give you a route that's optimized for using the shared lanes, the HOV lanes, the high occupancy vehicle lanes, and so that you can use those versus, the normal kind of, traffic, normal directions. So we try to bring kind of, these sort of, innovations in the car. But the other thing is that we also connect the digital life of a consumer from inside the car to outside the car. What I mean by that is that the car cannot be a separate digital island. Car has to be an integrated, has to be integrated to the digital life of a consumer. A typical consumer spends 1 to 2 hours in the car in a day, but 22, 23 hours they spend outside the car. And if you think about your digital life, Naveen, if I look at my digital life, it includes Apple and Google and Amazon and Microsoft, all of them. It's not one or the other. So what we try to do is basically connect to in an independent fashion to all the different big tech players.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay. Sanjay, it's 7 o'clock. We have 5-6 more questions. If you're okay in answering or whatever you advise.
Yes, I'm okay with time.
All right. Okay. So next question is from Charlik Shah. He would like to get your view on opportunities for automotive connectivity in India, and also if you want to comment, he wants a comment on startup space and struggles in India.
Sure. So the auto space in India is very dynamic as well. We work very closely with Marutis and Tatas and Hyundai and others, right, in India. There are a number of startup companies and a lot of great ideas kind of coming through as 4G, 5G kind of becomes more and more installed with Reliance Jio and all that stuff in India. Ultimately the architecture and the opportunity is very simple and very big. Just like 10, 15 years ago, we used to have this device called phone, which we could only make a phone call, and we connected this device to the internet using a platform called iOS or Android, and basically created an ecosystem to innovate. Miracles happen on a device. Same thing is going to happen in a car. As the car gets natively connected to the internet, the insurance industry, the service industry, all these industries will be disrupted. I can guarantee you 10 years from now, we will sit here and basically look back, and the way insurance policies are written, the way we schedule service and all that stuff for the car is going to be all very different, because the car will be natively connected to the cloud. And once all that data that is being generated in the car is available in the cloud, miracles will happen in various different industries. So, if I was you, I would look at, basically startup opportunities in all of these areas. And there are, many startups in Pune, in Bangalore, and all that stuff, who are basically trying to, innovate in all of these areas in India as well.
Okay, great. Next question is from Kumar Abhimanyu. Sanjay, he says, obviously, he says it's a truly inspiring session. And so what are some of the mistakes you wish you could have avoided? It's kind of a generic question over your 20 years you want to talk about.
I think the two things, pay much more attention on doing a detailed product and product management plan and go to market plan. I cannot tell you the importance of product management in a startup, especially in a startup, because I consider product management as like the brains of a body. You may have strong arms, strong legs, big muscles and all that stuff, but all of this will be useless if your brain is gone crazy, right? You can't use them. So similarly, in a company, product management is that function. So to all of you who are thinking of kind of starting, do not, I've absolutely made mistakes on the product management side. So I would, if I'm given a choice again, I would, spend more time, more thinking about, and validating kind of, the product concepts and technology innovations that are going to differentiate the product. And second is a team hiring. Strategy is very important, product management is very important, but execution is equally important. And a lot of times we make a mistake in hiring the right talent. When you're interviewing people, talking to people, you get the red flags, but you ignore it because you have pressure to hire certain people, certain positions and all that stuff. So those are the two things to pay the most attention on. And that's been my kind of, learning in all these years.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Sanjay. So a sequel to that question from Gordon Smith, who's a wonderful colleague of mine at Akitra, as well as in my first company, who helped a lot. His question is, what drove the thought process behind the go-to-market strategy for Cerence?
Yeah.
The thought process behind the GTM for Cerence.
Yeah, so it's, basically the Cerence was a public company to public company spin, as I told you, right? And so as the company was getting formed and the board of Nuance kind of, took that decision and I got engaged with them, the thought process was very simple. Nuance had, three divisions inside them, a healthcare division, a enterprise division, and an auto division. Auto technology and auto focus was very different than the other two divisions. So three didn't fit very well together. And because technology was getting separate, auto was about edge AI, cloud AI, versus, healthcare was all about cloud AI, right? Nothing to do with edge, because you don't have hospitals moving, right? So you always have connectivity in the hospital. So, as the technology was getting separate and the customer base was very separate, they said, probably, Cerence is a better company separate rather than part of, another bigger public company. So once that was formed, it was my job to basically kind of, create a bigger strategy for Cerence. We just launched, a number of, initiatives to expand our footprint as a company. We started with auto, and we're very entrenched with a lot of automotive OEMs, but we are now also expanding into two-wheelers. We're expanding into elevators. With COVID-19, kind of, the big opportunity that came our way was that nobody wants to touch the buttons of elevator. We use, today, when I go to my office, here in Silicon Valley, I have an Otis elevator. I have an access card that gives me, secure access to go to my floor. And why can't voice be used for that? Why do I have to touch a button? Why can't I say, hey, elevator, take me to Cerence? And using Cerence technology, we have something called voice biometry. So just like you have finger ID or face ID, I can detect you using your voice ID. So you can basically use a secure access to a floor, not just recognize where you want to go, but also give you a security as well, right? So there is a lot of very interesting innovations that are still in the works. We cloned the voice. I did my earnings call. In fact, Guinness Book of World Records is trying to put Cerence in their listings because we are the first public company where we did an earnings call, a public company earnings call using my clone. So, and if you listen to that earnings call, you can't tell the difference between me or my clone, voice clone, right? So, and now just think of, the application of that technology. Obviously, celebrity voices is one. In the car today, when an assistant talks back to you, it's a random voice that talks back. But, what if that voice is the voice of your loved ones? A random voice coming and telling me, hey, Sanjay, drive safely, versus my daughter's voice coming and telling me, Dad, drive safely, is going to have a totally different effect on me, right? I lost my mother very, very early in a road accident in India. I would, my kids see her face through pictures, but they don't have her, they have never heard her voice. Wouldn't it be great if I can clone my mother's voice? And, once in a while, there are greetings that are sent from my mother's clone voice to my kids. It has ethical issues, obviously, right? I understand that. But the point I'm making is that technology has amazing bounds. AI especially is going to kind of, change the way you and I live, just like, internet did, over the last 20 years.
Thank you, Sanjay. Next question from Lalit Kajare. Thank you for sharing your journey. When did you make the decision to shut down Incra? And was your family okay with getting involved with another startup?
Great question. So it was a very difficult decision. I remember that day in November of 2005, when that decision was taken. It was a board decision. It was not just my decision. Investors and myself and the management team took that decision together. And like I said, it was a company that we are all very, very proud of. Incra was 5 years too early. That was the issue. And yes, I had many sleepless nights attached with that decision. I still get chills when I think about it. But the good news is, I think the technology lived on under Nortel and Cisco, and also employees were all everybody and customers were all okay. So there was no issues from that standpoint. Yes, I had those discussions with my family that, is this something that I want to do it again? But, I think, having a very supporting family is extremely important in such a journey. And in my case, I have a very supportive wife who knows that I get a lot of pleasure in building something new. Believe it or not, Cerence last 18 months have been extremely heavy from a workload standpoint, because we're getting a new publicly listed company started, and as you noted, Naveen, the investors have responded quite well and all that stuff. But it all comes with a lot of hard work, not just my hard work, but all my colleagues as well. And many times people think it's for money. It's really not for money. It's the satisfaction that you get to build something brand new and look back and be kind of really, really proud of. So we every single day, Naveen, I wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I'm in the office at 5:30 a.m. onwards. I don't have to, frankly speaking. I've done okay financially in my life and all that stuff. But you know what? It's not about that. It's really about kind of leading with front foot, as they say in cricket, right? It's leading with example and being there with your team to basically build this new company that we are building right now called Cerence.
It's awesome. So the next question is from Mr. Anonymous attendee. How did you handle the situation when you had to make hard decisions in your career?
Well, it all depends upon kind of what the situation is. But I think you want to keep it. You want to get as much facts as possible in any decision you are taking, whether it's a product strategic direction decision, or whether it is a go-to-market decision, or if it's an employee decision. You basically want to kind of collect as much facts as possible, and try to kind of not attach any egos or any other alternative motives to it, and just look at facts and what decision you want to take. I try extremely hard in all of my companies. There are many colleagues who have worked with me for 1, 2, 3, 4 companies together now, and they all know this about me, that I try very, very hard to kind of make sure that all of us in a company are only focused on our product and innovations. What I say at Cerence is we have 3 priorities. Number 1, every single day I think about product and innovation as my number 1 priority. In a tech company, either you innovate or you die. It's as simple as that, right? So innovate or die. And so my number 1 focus is product and innovations. My number 2 focus is speed of execution. I would never falter anybody about taking a wrong decision. I'd rather have people take decisions and move on, rather than kind of go in circles and not decide. And my number 3rd focus is cost. Doesn't matter what company you're in, doesn't matter how much at Cerence, we're generating 40+% of EBITDA. So we're a good profitable company generating cash. There is no reason why we should need to focus on cost too much, but we do. All of us do, myself and the whole team, because you always want to be cost competitive, always, right? So product and innovation, number 1, speed of execution, number 2, cost focus, number 3. These are the 3 things that I focus on, and any decisions that you have to take, you want to align to these, and want to make sure that you don't have any other alternative agenda but the wellness of the company and the employees as you take those decisions.
Thank you, Sanjay. So there are 5 more questions. If you're still up to it, we can continue for next 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you.
Yeah, let's do another 5 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So next question is from Blake Veal. He says, throughout your entrepreneurial career, were there any times you encountered major unforeseen obstacles? I mean, kind of a little bit you answered earlier. If so, would love to hear about an example and how you're able to ultimately overcome that major hurdle and achieve success.
Sure. So hurdles are many will come. I don't think so. There will be any business plan that will be executed as is. It doesn't matter which that company is. Whether it's even as bigger successful companies like Google, Facebook, etc. I bet if you talk to the founders of those companies, they'll tell you that that you have to make adjustments to your plan as you go through the hurdles. There are many examples come to my mind. In again using Incra as an example, we initially focused on carrier market. Carriers, we were focused on what was called CLACs. These were new types of carriers which were being started for providing services into small and medium-sized businesses, and they were competing against the other carriers like AT&T and Verizon and so on and so forth. And we focused on them, and the product was focused for them. And as soon as we got started, after the first few months, basically the big bubble burst had happened, and all these carriers were going out of business left and right, basically. So we had to, repivot our product strategy towards a different market, towards an enterprise market. Now it was, it's very different. The way your management software works, the way your cost structure of your product works, all that stuff has to be kind of, switched over. So that's just one example, and there are hundreds of examples come to my mind, basically, that all of us would experience as we basically go through our entrepreneurship journey. The key is to be agile. The key is to be fast in getting the hints that you need to adjust, and then acting quickly. That is the key, and any smart team can figure that out and basically move. If you get stuck in going kind of analyzing it too much, then you will really get stuck. So my advice would be just the data points are there in front of you. Just act on those data points.
Thank you, Sanjay. There are only 3 more. We'll go quickly. So the next question is from Vijay Gopalaswamy. Do you really think a truly autonomous self-driving car will be on the road in the next 5 years? Number one. And I see there are so many edge cases in the current software. So can we trust software engineers with our life?
No, I don't see a fully autonomous car in 5 years on the road under any conditions. No, I don't see that. There are 5 levels of autonomy, level 1 through level 5. The cars today on the road are level 2. So there is no commercially available level 3 autonomous car today. Okay, all the cars, whether you see Tesla or Mercedes or BMW or others, are all level 2 autonomous. You see, obviously, Waymo and others in Cruise, etc., kind of, test driving level 4 and level 5, autonomous cars, but they will be there for certain specific applications, maybe in a university campus, maybe in a hospital campus, maybe in kind of, other areas. But I don't see in next 5 years a fully level 4 or level 5 autonomous cars under driving on the roads under any condition. It's a very difficult computer science problem to solve. And yes, you are right. Safety is the most important thing there, basically, to kind of make sure it's done in a very, very safe way. I would argue, though, that machines, if a right architecture is built, can be more safer than humans. Remember, machines don't have fatigue. Remember, machines don't have any emotions. Yes, algorithms can have bugs, but I would argue that as humans, because we are emotions and we get fatigue and all that stuff, we make more mistakes than probably a well-tested machine, in my opinion. I look at even the level 2 autonomous features in my car has saved me from many times accidents, many times. So right there is a use case that things can be done more safely with autonomous cars. But I think you will see fully autonomous in specific applications in the next 4 or 5 years.
Thank you, Sanjay. Next question from Manish Kumar. As an entrepreneur, what's your greatest fear and how do you manage fear?
It's I wouldn't say fear. I would say more anxiety. I am restless by nature. As I said, I'm very passionate, but I'm also very impatient, and so I do get extremely impatient with making progress. Whether it's progress with products, progress with technology, progress with customers, and so on and so forth. So the way I handle that is that I say, if I'm the leader, the first responsibility is mine. So I don't try to kind of take it out on my team. For the people who have worked with me, they'll always tell you that there's nobody who will put in more hours and is more committed to a business than I am, because I lead by example, and so I'm very hard on myself, and for that, I do get scolded by my dear wife that, Sanjay, you can't drive yourself nuts, but I do, because that's who I am. So it's less fear, more anxiety, more impatient for me.
All right, thanks. The last question from Dheeraj. For a first-time entrepreneur, obviously he appreciates your journey and you're starting the day at 4 a.m. And then the question is, for the first-time entrepreneur, is it better to take a small exit now or wait for a bigger one, which takes longer time and many more 5 a.m. stars, as he calls it?
So again, there is no right or wrong answer. In every situation is very different. You have to, basically take a decision. What is most important for you? What's more important for you is an economic exit, which, if you are a first time, and you want to get to some level of financial kind of independence, then reducing the risk and taking an early exit may make more sense. That's what I did with StarNet, to be honest, right? That was exactly the thinking that I went through in 1999. If you are more, if you have more risk appetite and you see a bigger outcome that you can create by continuing the journey longer, then I think you should do that.
Okay, thank you, Sanjay. By the way, I would like to thank you a lot and appreciate your taking another 25 minutes to answer all these questions. So we covered all of them, and this is really an amazing and truly inspiring story, Sanjay. Watch you again for sharing that. So all the attendees, we'll have a virtual My Story event every month. So please keep watch out for it for the next one. And thank you again, Sanjay. And so with
thank
that,
you so
we're going
much.
to close the event. All right.
Thank you, Naveen, and thank you everybody for attending. Bye-bye. Good night.
Have you a beautiful evening.